Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Bowser0897 here with an episode of Storytime. As such, with all these episodes going forward, these stories will be more than just myself. You too can get in on the involvement. If you have a story that's scary, sad, traumatic, inspiring, humorous, unexplainable, or anything else in between, please direct message me your story via Twitter or Discord. If you prefer to verbally tell me your story in a one-on-one interaction, please let me know also. As with such, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss any future episodes of Storytime here on the channel. Without further ado, let the story begin. Let's start off with the basic information that's good to know before I actually go further with the story. Me and this guy, let's call him Lucas. Lucas and I met on the internet a couple years ago. It's not uncommon for today's generation to talk to random people online, so there's nothing special about that. Well, this Lucas was 3 years older than me. I was still 17 at the time. I didn't think it was a big deal because I was used to talking to people a bit older than me. I felt like I could relate to them a lot more than kids my age. I'm saying kids because that's what I technically was. I was a minor. One weekend in April of this year, 2019, me and him were casually texting each other. I can't remember what about exactly, but then I for some reason decided to say that, hey, you should come over here next weekend because I've got a few days off of school because of Easter. I didn't think he would have taken me seriously because this Lucas actually lived in another country, 1,000 miles away from me, so he would have had to take a plane just to come see me. But when I said it was merely a joke, little did I know he was going to say yes. What he exactly said was this: okay, I have the money for it. I'll come. And next thing I know, he's booking flights and looking at hotels already. The thing is, I have met up with a stranger online before, so that's why I was not scared or nervous this time, even though I had never met Lucas yet, and I knew very well he could have been, I don't know, a catfish, murderer, anything. I still wasn't scared. I remember thinking I was so happy someone was willing to put this much effort into seeing me. He had seemed like a generally lovely guy, and I couldn't think of one thing that I didn't like about him. He was a great friend to me, so I didn't have any second thoughts about not going to see him. He booked the stay for 3 nights and told me I could sleep in the hotel room with him. He offered to pay for everything, and as my naive self, I thought he was just being nice to me because he knew I was spending most of my money on school, so I couldn't have afforded it. The day I left, I obviously had to come up with a good excuse for my parents. I told them I would be at my friend's for Easter, and they didn't seem one bit suspicious. No one knew where I actually was. One of the reasons I was so desperate to meet Lucas was because I had lost all my friends earlier this year, and people I spoke to online were the closest thing I had to a real friend. I thought that I would have finally got to spend time with someone for once, and have done stuff with someone else, instead of always staying at home because I didn't have any friends to do anything with. I was naive because I was really desperate for a friend, and even thinking back on it, I feel so sorry for myself. No one knew where I was when I left the house with my packed bag. If something had happened to me, no one would have probably ever known. I went to pick him up from the airport. I started getting a bit nervous as I was standing by the arrivals gate, but it was a good kind of nervous. When he walked through the gate, I ran to give him a hug. I was so happy to see him, and he was happy to see me. We began to head to our hotel, which was a 40-minute bus drive away from the airport. We were talking about casual stuff, like how his flight went, and so on. As we got to the hotel and had checked in and everything, we unpacked our bags and I claimed my side of the bed. I asked him if it was okay I took a nap, and he decided to take a nap as well. We were both so tired from traveling. I had done a lot of it as well, as the airport was nowhere near my home. We didn't sleep anywhere near each other, and it was a pretty big bed anyway, so there was a lot of space. Later on, we started getting a bit hungry, so we went to look for a place to eat. The city was filled with tourists, and all the food places were pretty packed, so we decided we would order food to the hotel later on. The hotel obviously had a restaurant, but hotel food is costly, and I didn't like the menu. We went to the supermarket to get lots of snacks and some Easter eggs because I thought it was necessary because of Easter. Then he bought us a lot of alcohol. I wasn't old enough to buy any yet. He also gave me his credit card and told me I could buy anything I wanted, and as I was a stupid teenager, I truly believe he wanted to be kind because he cares about me. I got a couple of shirts and some shorts, but nothing else because I felt bad for him using this much money on me. But he offered, so I thought, why not? Later on in the evening, as we ate, done our shopping, binged some Netflix, explored around the city, and so on, we decided it was time to start drinking. Here again, I had drunk before, but I always had a good tolerance for alcohol, so I never got drunk quickly, so I wasn't too concerned. Lucas and I had joked about a drinking contest before, and we decided we would see who would get drunk first. I was confident I was going to win. After a couple of bottles of some rum and a few glasses of champagne, I started feeling dizzy. I told him that, and he asked me if I was okay, and I said that maybe I needed some water. I did have some, but then I carried on drinking until I had almost finished all the bottles. Now I can't remember all the details because I was so drunk, but I still remember enough to put all the pieces together. I remember feeling like the room was spinning, and whenever I would try to get off the bed, I would lose my balance. I couldn't see clearly, and I felt sick, like I needed to vomit, but I don't think I actually vomited that night. I was unconscious here and there. At some point, I had hit my head on the bathroom sink and passed out on the floor, and at some point, I passed out on the bed. Now I know he had barely even drunk his own bottles, and he was completely sober. Then I thought he was taking care of me, and he was for a while, but then he started to undress me. At this point, I couldn't move or say or do anything, but I knew and felt everything that was happening around me. I could feel him doing things to me and touching me places I didn't want him to, or even give him consent to. I was utterly powerless, and looking back, I wish I could have done something to stop it from happening. I wish I had known he was going to be like this. The next day, he acted as nothing had happened. He told me how I got quite drunk and passed out, and how he was taking care of me. I knew exactly what had happened, but a part of me was in denial. The other part was blaming myself. I mean, I had accepted to sleep in the same bed with him. I was wearing quite revealing clothes, and I was finding ways to blame it on myself. And that is something you should never do. And it is never the victim's fault. Ever. Honestly, I never brought it up for the rest of the time he was here. I never brought up the fact he raped me. We were both acting like everything was excellent, and we were enjoying ourselves. Well, at least he was. I couldn't enjoy anything knowing what had happened the night before. Only after we had said goodbye at the airport and I had to go back home, I fully started to realize what had happened to me and how it was no means my fault. I should have been more careful. I didn't know something like this was going to happen, but this taught me a lesson that you truly never know who can turn out to be a rapist. A rapist doesn't have a look, and that's something we need to acknowledge. Lucas was an ordinary guy, and nothing about him seemed abnormal before. I only saw good in him, and I was let down so bad. I don't know how he saw the situation in his head. Maybe he was planning it all along. Perhaps he thought it would be justifiable by the money he spent on me. I never asked him why he did it. It doesn't even matter why. What matters is that he did it, and I hope he understands what he did was wrong. I still don't wish any harm onto him, and I have forgiven him, but I'll never be able to forget what he did to me. This wasn't even too long ago, as it's only been 4 months. And no, I'm not over it. Don't think I ever will be, but I'm recovering, and I can finally talk about it without immediately bursting into tears. And that was the submitted story for this episode. Again, the original author has wished to remain anonymous. However, I would like to add that, ma'am, you are strong-willed in handling the entire situation, and I agree entirely that you are no way at fault here. I advocate for your recovery, and I hope this guy gets the karma he deserves. Anyway, as always, if you have a story of your own that you'd like to share, feel free to hit me up. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any new stories when they get released. I have been Bowser0897, and I'll see you, ladies and gentlemen, in the next one.